In a quiet revolution sweeping through neuroscience and philosophy, a radical theory is challenging our most basic assumptions about reality. Known as Predictive Processing Theory (PPT), it proposes that the brain is not a passive receiver of sensory data, but an active prediction engine, constantly generating models of the world and updating them based on incoming information. This shift in perspective has profound implications. If our experience of reality is merely a simulation constructed by the brain, then what we call awakening may be nothing more or less than the recognition that this simulation is not reality itself. The brain's best guess. Traditional models of perception assumed a bottom-up process. We see, hear, and feel the world, and the brain interprets it. PPT flips this logic. According to the theory, the brain begins with a hypothesis about what's out there and uses sensory input to confirm or revise that guess. It's a constant loop of prediction and error correction. This Bayesian approach, named after the 8th century statistician Thomas Bayes, means that our brains are essentially running probability calculations at all times. Prior beliefs are weighed against new evidence, and the most likely interpretation wins. But what happens when the brain's predictions are wrong, or when its confidence in a particular model is too strong? That's where hallucinations, delusions, and even spiritual revelations come into play. Controlled hallucinations, and the self-neuroscientist Anil Seth, a leading voice in the field, describes perception as a controlled hallucination. In his view, we don't passively perceive the world, we actively construct it. The brain's predictions are so seamless that we mistake them for objective reality. Seth extends this idea to the self. Just as the brain predicts the external world, it also predicts the internal state of the body. The sense of being me is not a fixed truth, but a narrative hallucination, a model of bodily integrity and continuity. This reframing has startling implications. If the self is a simulation, then awakening might involve recognizing that simulation for what it is: a useful fiction. Awakening, as cognitive liberation philosopher and cognitive scientist Shamil Chandaria takes the theory further, connecting it to ancient contemplative traditions. In his view, spiritual awakening is a kind of cognitive liberation, a loosening of the brain's predictive grip. Meditation, for example, can reduce the precision weighting the brain assigns to its models. In simpler terms, it makes the brain less confident in its assumptions. This shift allows raw sensory data to emerge, unfiltered by egoic narratives. Chandaria argues that awakening is not a mystical escape from the brain, but a recalibration of its predictive machinery. It's the moment we realize that the observer, the I watching the world, is itself a prediction. From delusion to insight. Predictive processing theory also sheds light on mental health. Depression may involve overly rigid negative predictions. Anxiety reflects hyperactive threat models. Psychosis can result from poor precision weighting, where hallucinations override reality. In contrast, awakening is a healthy deconstruction. It's a loosening of models, not a loss of them. It allows for flexibility, insight, and even joy. Psychedelics, too, play a role. Substances like psilocybin and LSD disrupt predictive hierarchies, allowing bottom-up data to flood awareness. This can lead to ego dissolution, unity experiences, and profound shifts in perspective. A new frontier, the implications of PPT extend beyond psychology and spirituality. They touch on artificial intelligence, consciousness studies, and even metaphysics. Can machines simulate predictive hierarchies? Is consciousness emergent from prediction error minimization? Could awakening be programmed? These questions blur the line between biology and computation, echoing themes in panpsychism and integrated information theory. The map is not the territory. Ultimately, predictive processing theory invites a humbling realization. The world we experience is not the world as it is, but the world as we predict it to be. Awakening, then, is not an escape from the brain, it's a reconfiguration of its models. This insight bridges science and spirituality, offering a new language for ancient truths. It challenges us to question our assumptions, loosen our grip on identity, and open ourselves to the raw, unfiltered mystery of being. In an age of information overload and existential uncertainty, perhaps the most radical act is not to seek more data, but to recognize the simulation for what it is.